Hello guys, today we will be talking about Belgium FAL rifle. So just briefly about its history. The first prototype was created in 1946 for the caliber 7.92 by 33. That, as you probably know, is the round for the Sturmgewehr assault rifle, German World War II development. Then FN wanted to make it for the 280 British because of the potential of British Army contract. They even went through bullpup variant. Anyway, after the further pressure from United States, the entire NATO settled on 7.62 by 51 NATO caliber. So the FNFAL ended up using this caliber. This rifle was the standard issue rifle of the entirety of the NATO, excluding United States, and was adopted in over 90 countries. So even a lot of the third world countries adopted those. And pretty much to this day, you can see those around the world. Although they're becoming more and more rare, because even a lot of the Latin American countries or in Africa, people just tend to use either a modern rifle, especially by the Israel military industry. So instead of FNFALs, you will see a lot of Galil Aces or Tavors. And pretty much the same situation, it's also around Africa. But what is the history of FNFALs in Ukraine? You might be surprised that even before 2022, a lot of Ukrainians actually had experience using this type of rifle. And the main reason for it is that guys that worked in the maritime security, this rifle is one of the primary ones being used around the world for exactly this purpose. It's not bolt action, it's semi-automatic, and it have the powerful 308 cartridge, so you can reach on bigger distances and still punch through quite successfully. So yes, a lot of our guys worked in the maritime security, and a lot of guys that worked around the world over the years in different capacities handled those rifles as well. I believe the total number manufactured is just shy over 7 million worldwide. So yes, those rifles are still around to this day, although a lot of the design features and the size overall become more and more dated. So that's the situation pre-2022. When the escalation toward the full-scale war happened, some guns were delivered, I believe around 10,000 of those. A lot of the FN 50.0 rifles were delivered with folding stocks and a little bit shorter barrels. But this form factor, this size is pretty much the standard, most common variant. And because I have access to this most common variant, we will talk front to the back about the most common features and what do I think about them. So first of all, we have the muzzle brake. I think it's quite good one because the ports pointing a little bit forward like so. So during the firing, the guys next to you don't go deaf. So that's quite a good feature, and I also believe it's quite effective given the powerful caliber. Also into the same device you also attach the blank firing module and you also attach your bayonet on. Then we go to our front side together with the gas block. So here we have the gas plug. You can also shut the gas completely off. That was for launching the rifle grenades. Me personally, I never seen a NATO rifle grenade in person or fire it. So I'm quite curious about that. Since you're watching the channel, you probably know that my autism have pretty much no limits, so we will take a look at some parts that I managed to collect over the years precisely for FNFAL. So the most valuable kit is basically made by DS Arms, so you need this tool to extract the recoil spring out of the weapon. You can do it otherwise, but this just helps a lot with guiding the spring, and this is the key for the bolt that is in the stock. Then this is very important tool when you're removing the gas tube on the FNFALs, and be careful, the gas tube have actually a little horizontal pin. It's like secure that way. Ask me how I know. I managed to massacre one once upon a time precisely by not really looking it up and also not using this proper tool. Then there is also specialized tool that is not that important. This one is for removing the claw of the extractor. Then we have the front side setting tool. This is for the newer variant of FNFALs. Also there is hexagonal one for the old variants of FNFALs. And then just typical last model of bayonet. And they use this very cheap tubular design, but as bayonet I just think it's quite fantastic. but pretty bulky to carry around with. One more interesting tool, it's from Austria. This is for their Sturmgewehr 58, which is just a variant of FNFAL again. And this is great multi-tool, again helping with removing the gas tube and with setting bunch of stuff on the rifle itself. Then another interesting part out of Africa. This is, I believe those were made by FN, and this is your gas plug. And it's with graduates for launching the rifle grenades. So basically it's on the rifle like so. Then you put it up, turn the gas plug. So you shut off the gas completely, and then here you have range estimation for launching the grenades. And this is your rear sight, and the front sight is just the silhouette of the rifle grenade. And then just a little kit with extractor and firing pin. But I've never seen myself FNFAL with broken pins, only I've seen it on AR-15s so far. And then just the rear sight for the long infantry version that look like so, and you can even see how flimsy it is, so it will be good enough, I'm sure about that. But when you can get the para rear sight or some aftermarket one, definitely do that. Then we have the gas regulator that have many positions, which is very often a point of failure, because guys just don't know how to set it properly. Me personally, any FNFAL that I get in hand, I just cover half of the port and I start on that, and then either add gas or remove some gas. One of the reasons for this solution is that in the 308 calibers you actually getting a lot of ammo manufacturers, that's logical, given by how many countries adopted those, but also the weight of the bullets varies a lot. So you can, with this wide gas setting, set it for functioning pretty much with anything, going from subsonic 308s all the way to some very light bullets. This is short stroke gas piston rifle, so the piston is just over here. Also, when you remove the gas plug, it's under spring tension. I've seen some of those fly off, and then we needed to source some more from sources abroad. So that's definitely something to be cautious of. Then we have the triangle handguard. I would argue against use of any railed handguards just because of the weight, and with rifle of this size I just don't think it's necessary. If you really need light that badly while you're using this rifle, just use headlamp. Then we go to the magazines. Those are as standard 20 rounds. Optionally, you can get the 30 rounds for the light machine gun version. Those magazines are really uncommon in Ukraine, and it seems that in Europe in general, because we were over the years buying some parts from around Europe, and because all of the European armies removed those so long time ago, it's a real problem to get magazines or to get spare parts. Then we have the carry handle, which I think it's a cool feature. The Rhodesians are known for cutting those, or so some of the para variants have this slot just without the possibility of attaching one. Then we have the top cover that I have modified, but we will get to the current modification as well. Usually you just get a normal stamped sheet metal cover. Then we getting to the controls, and the new shooters have a real problem to finding those when you just hand the rifle straight away in somebody's hands. Usually they try to press the bolt release that is here instead of the mag release. The mag release, it's quite small, quite anemic, but absolutely usable, so you can get very quick reloads if you want to. This is rock-in style of magazines that I prefer much more over the AR-15 style of locking of the mag itself. Then we have the safety and selector on the left side of the weapon. This is not the most ergonomic thing in the world, but when you put some practice into it, you can definitely make it work. So when you carry it, just don't have it like so, because then it's a real problem to reach. I just prefer to carry the rifle like this, remove the safety, and then point the weapon. The characteristic of the trigger, it's absolutely normal, standard military trigger that is absolutely suitable for assault rifle. For some DMR variant, I believe that you need something better or to do a little bit of work on it. Then we get to the grip. It have little bit old school angle, but I find it very ergonomical, especially on long rifle like this. Majority of those infantry long versions have very flimsy rear sights, so it's good to buy some aftermarket one. Or you can also buy from Europe some rear sights that are for the paratrooper models and replace it with that one, and then we have the fixed stock that actually have the recoil spring in it. So that's just the trivial information out of the way, and now we will be talking a little bit more how those guns are used by our troops and why I set up this one the way I did. So me personally, I've seen territorial defense forces using those in 2022-23 in Bakhmut, and after that I've seen those used as SDMR rifles by soldiers of the 14th Brigade. Given the length of the rifle, it's very tempting not to use the sling, just remove it completely, but you should always have sling on your rifle. It's absolutely mandatory, because when you carry wounded or carry something heavy, you just need it. But in the FAL world, I just always have it completely off, because it's just much more comfortable with long rifles. Have it off like so, even pulled short. And when you just need to put it on your back, then you just extend the sling and use it that way. As I mentioned, the factory handguard is just right, the same with the magazines, and we getting to the top covers. So we have domestic production of the top covers. They look like so. They are made by Gunpowder Nation, so it's a company that make top covers and different railed solution for pretty much any rifle or any grenade launcher or heavy machine gun. Now, what is the problem with that? Because the technical solution, how it's done, it's exactly the same like on the very cheap Amazon top covers for the FAL. So it kind of holds zero when you are lucky, but after you fire some big number of rounds, they tend to loosen up and little bit rattle going back and forth. Which does not mean that you lose the zero completely. It's usually good enough, it's just annoying. All of those rifles that I've seen in use were used either with thermal scope or having some magnified optic on top. Because as I mentioned, those are used usually by the designated marksmen. I don't think that's a great solution, because all of those scopes that I've seen had a huge magnification. Let's say 3 to 15 or 5 to 25. And for a rifle like this and roll of DMR shooter, I just don't believe it's good at all. The main reason why guys do it is just because they don't know any better at that given moment, because they are just guys, somebody coming to them saying you are DMR shooter, and here you get scope for your rifle together with the railed top cover and just sort your life out. So two things that I would really love to see is first, if the Brownells Europe, put in stock the DS Arms top covers, because those are absolutely the best. They are listed on the site for like 2-3 years, but just never in stock, and we're really waiting to purchase those. Another great upgrade that I would suggest to anyone that filled this rifle in Ukraine, to find some guy that was issued Minimi 762 in the Mark III version, because some of those that were supplied to us by nation that I prefer not to name, were actually equipped with precisely this combination. So you get 3.5 power ACOG with RMR on top, and the reticle fits the 762x51 cartridge, which is fantastic. So if you have in your unit guy that was issued this Minimi, you can talk with him. Guys tend to use either thermal scopes or EOTech just holographic sights, because they are just so much better option for that purpose. And just borrow from them this sight. Because you get the BDC reticle, the magnification, it's for DMR just right. It also have the crosshair, not the chevron, so you can shoot very accurately. And the RMR on top will actually allow you to shoot either through night vision or just on very short distances, but of course you need to get some training with it. So this is just a demonstration. I put it together on borrowed gun, how I would set FAL if I was issued one. So some modern sling that is comfortable. Then we have the rear sight that I kept around me for many years now, because I always carry it with me when there is possibility of using FALs. This have very good correction, and it's also flip over. It's like AR-15 protected. It's just absolutely fantastic sight. Then in ideal world, I would put the DS arm top covers, exactly this optic, because for the accuracy of this rifle and the purpose of this rifle, this is just absolutely the best solution in my opinion. And with this combination, this gun is very much relevant to this day to be used on conventional battlefield. So now we're getting to the most interesting part, and that's just the experience in the field. Look, this gun, it's absolutely huge. It always seems okay. Then you put your gear on, you put your backpack on, and you need to walk somewhere, preferably with some rocket on you. And then it just become a terrible issue how long this gun is, especially if you train, for example, on AK-74 or on some modern assault rifles. So that's issue number one. The issue number two, to carry this on sling, giving the position of sling swivels. Usually it works for me just like this, which is not exactly ideal, but it's totally doable. Another big issue are the magazines, because they are so uncommon. Usually on the guns that were supplied, it was 4 magazines per rifle, which is okay, but it's much more preferable to have 8 magazines on rifle. So I bought from Europe for friends some of those magazines over the years, but they're becoming less and less available, unfortunately. Another issue that I had with FAL years ago was that given how long it is, you always need to tape your muzzle. So when you're falling over, you don't get dirt in the muzzle. Of course, that is gone after you shot. So after using it like this, I came back exhausted. Basically put the rifle like so, and I knew there is just very little mud plug at the end. And I was thinking, yes, I will just clean the weapon tomorrow, whatever. Well, tomorrow I needed to use it. So I knew the plug was there, I still see it. But I tried to charge the weapon and some little particles already fell down, all the way down. Now, the huge issue is the tilting bolt, because this bolt does not rotate, it tilts. So anytime you get some particle like this, some piece of mud, some little rock into the system, the tilting bolt really don't have any place to work properly. So what I end up having was just catastrophic malfunction when the bolt was stuck back halfway, and I basically need to disassemble the gun completely. And that was definitely not one-off, because years after that I talked with a guy, and it was funny because he told me from his service that he had exactly the same malfunction. Just getting little particle down the barrel, then try to charge the weapon and just getting it completely stuck. Need to remove this pivot pin and clean it in other ways. Then another talking point about this rifle is the full auto feature. Me personally, I like the full auto on FALs. Yes, it's very pushy, you tend really to lose it at the start of the burst, but when you know how violent the recoil is, you can really tone it down, really put some practice in it. Also, the proper gas setting will actually help you to control it properly. It's definitely not for providing some accurate full auto fire at distance of 150-200 meters, of course not. But for example, when you have doors, you have some barricade, whatever, it's completely doable to put the full auto switch and just from the hip fire it to pieces that way. That's totally doable. But Britain, they never accepted the full auto variant, so they had just semi-auto, and even a lot of the nations that actually approved the full auto variants over the years started to get rid of the full auto feature, which I think in the big army it's actually a logical step. Put a little bit more accent on the accuracy on every shot to go where it's supposed to, because that goes hand in hand with the little bit lower mag capacity and especially the weight of the ammunition. So it's good that the armies prioritized accuracy over just spraying and changing magazines. Now let's talk a little bit more why some guys are issued this rifle SDMR. Those are usually guys that just entered the armed forces or are newly formed unit. Because if they are good in their role of DMR shooters, Then they are sent for a 3-month-long training, specialized DMR shooter training. And I have second-hand experience by members of our unit that this is one of the best, let's say, DMR or sniper trainings in the world. Even guys that went through the British variant of exactly this training said that not exactly skill-wise, but some of the very fine details were actually better in our domestic version. Why is this training important? That's that you go through the entirety of the length of the training with the UAR-10 rifle, which is just AR-10 derivative. And if you manage to actually successfully complete the training, you take that UAR-10 308 caliber, very good DMR, with you to the unit and then to your service. Of course, you can imagine how much more effective the guys become after proper training and switching from FAL with whatever optic to the AR-10 with some Night Force optic and 3 months of training and proper ammunition. Talking about ammunition, the most common way how to get 308 is that you de-linking the linked ammo. So you just talk with your machine gunners, they get issued belts, and then you just remove the bullets for yourself, which is a little bit cool if you can get the armor-piercing ammunition, but usually you end up using full metal jacket, and also especially for training after rain, you just use the tracer because it's kind of common practice for machine gunners to remove all the tracer, so it's a little bit more hard to pinpoint their position. So then you end up in a team to have pile of tracer, 308 to tracer, and that's good opportunity for a guy with rifle like this to go train some drills, but as I mentioned, you need to make sure that you don't set the polygon on fire. Now just briefly talk about the gear. You can definitely get the placard for 308 caliber rifles. I just borrowed this entire body armor just to make this video, so you can put in the placard the magazines like this. What also worked for me, it's surprisingly actually the British PLCE system, where you just have the pouches on side and they are so big and the entire rig is so cheap that it's very easy to place the magazines in there, some loose ammo on the other side together with grenades, and you can successfully use that old system with this old rifle. Thank you very much guys for watching. If you wish to support us, you can use the PayPal link down below or become YouTube member for extra videos.